Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, or evening to you, depending on what time you're listening to this. Today, we are going to be starting with a very basic topic, and the essence of this is just so we can help people who are preparing for their MS-900 examination. And just before we go on, my name is Joseph Afiso. I am a Microsoft MVP and MCT, and I'm really very happy that we'll be handholding individuals who want to come into the cloud technology. It could even be those who want to switch their career, or those who want to start up from the beginning, or those who are looking at writing the MS-900 exam. So the MS-900 is the fundamental category which marks the beginner's level on the Microsoft 365 technology as a cloud solution. So we'll really be having some basic discussions on some key topics and issues. Things that you need to be able to differentiate and have a solid foundation in the tech space, right? As it has to do with cloud computing. So I really crave you to watch through, stick through to the end, and try to follow through. Pick up your pen and a piece of paper because there are a lot of things that you are going to write here because this is going to be highly academic. Okay, so that said, our aim is going to be to learn the cloud computing concepts from the very beginning, like I mentioned. And if you've not subscribed to this channel yet, you may just want to do that. Okay, so let's just move on to the slides. So what is in our agenda today? We are going to be learning about the concept of cloud computing, right? And then we'll be able to describe the benefits of using cloud services, and then we'll also look at how to the different cloud services, and we try to define them. Okay, so, what is going to be our focus in terms of the first module? We are going to be describing the cloud computing concept. Okay. So, while in that, as a matter of introduction, after completing this module, you should be able to define cloud computing. We're expecting that you'll be able to describe the shared responsibility model. You should be able to define cloud models, including or what they call deployment model, including the public cloud, the private cloud, the hybrid cloud, right? And then you should be able to identify and the appropriate use case for each of the cloud deployment model, right? And then you should be able to describe the consumption-based model of adopting cloud technology, and then you should be able to do like a kind of comparison in terms of pricing, right? You compare the cloud pricing as against your on-premises or your private cloud pricing. Okay, so what is cloud computing really? Cloud computing is basically the delivery of cloud services over the internet. I will just try to spend some time on this slide just so we can explain some concepts, right? So if you hear the word cloud computing, so what should come to your mind is the delivery of cloud services, right? And then over the internet. The cloud itself is not like there is a cloud somewhere, right? That you are actually having your data saved to. Cloud is just talking about something that has to do with the internet, right? So you can replace the word cloud with internet, and you should be correct while trying to describe cloud computing. So cloud computing is the delivery of computing services over the internet. So you can say internet computing. Honestly, you'll be correct. All right, enabling faster innovation, flexible resources, and economic upscale. So now the point is that it is it enables you to for faster innovation in the sense that it will help you take care of the scope around you setting up your own server environment, then trying to work on the cabling of the environment, trying to do a lot. Instead of doing this, you could just adopt the cloud immediately and start deploying solutions that would actually make different meaning, innovative meaning to your solution. And it is flexible in the sense that if you have option to increase, which we are going to see later, you can ask for an increment without any physical damage because you don't even have the physical gadget in the first place. And if you don't need as high as what you used to have, you can also ask it to be scaled down, right? So we are going to look at those also. And if you look at it, what are those common things that you want to access over the internet. Of course, you know that computing is a major is a major aspect of daily activities, right? So things that have to do with your CPU, your processor, and all of that. So somebody is taking care of all those for you. So what you just do is to ask for it, and then you'll be given access to you. So instead of passing wires again, I mean passing cables for your networking within your floors and all of that, we can actually have that as a service in the cloud, where you have what they call the virtual networks, right, being hosted in somebody else's data center. So you can talk about storage also. So instead of going for those hard disk, those flash drives, those physical storage, you can actually demand for storage in the cloud. And this is one of the most commonest useful scenarios in terms of cloud computing, because a lot of people use Google Cloud, right? In the sense that if you have a Gmail account, then you're going to have a Google Drive account, right? You tend to save your data in Google Drive, and you can access them over the internet on any devices that you are making use of. So this include you maybe trying to back up your data to iCloud, or putting them on your OneDrive by using Microsoft, and yeah, so that wherever you are, you can really access those data, right? So that's an example of storage services running in the cloud. Let's say, for example, your Facebook that you are uploading pictures to, your Instagram and all of that, those are now saved to your cloud account, and you can really access them anywhere you are. So that's one of the advantages, and the availability here, which we are going to be looking at too, is one of those things that you will look at in terms of the advantages in the subsequent slides. Okay, so now if you talk about the shared responsibility model, right? um so what this actually means is that you have um so before this, right, we needed to talk about the private, the public, and the hybrid. Then we can talk about the shared responsibility model. So let's just come back here first, because if I do shared responsibility model, it's just going to affect you a bit in the way you can understand what I am saying. So what is private cloud? So why now talking about accessing cloud services over the internet? You have different method in which those services can be deployed. So you have the one that is just for you as an organization, right? Then you have the one that is for, let me just bring up my paint this time. I think that will help us better, right? So let me just load that and bring it up to the screen. So let's say, for example, you have your organization, right? So that your organization decides to build its own data center, right? Let's say it has a data center somewhere, and then this data center, let's say this is a bank, right? So this bank now has branches, right, everywhere. So this bank has branches. Let's say we are using this as a symbol to show about the branches, right? So these branches are like 4 branches somewhere. This is bank A, right? So this is bank A, bank A. So you have bank branches here. Maybe you have branch in Kano, you have branch in Abuja, you have branch in Lagos, then you have branch in Kaduna. Let's see Kaduna, right? So what's happening here is that now you have this place as your data center, your data center. So this time what we are looking at is that for example, when you visited Kano, right, you make a deposit of an amount of 50K, 50K while in Kano, 50K. I hope my screen is big enough. Let me just see. Oh, can't zoom in that much. Okay, I just want to believe that it's obvious to you. So let's say now you made a withdrawal, or you made a deposit of 50K here when you were in Kano. Deposit equal to 50K, don't mind me. Then when you got to Abuja on your way to Lagos, you withdrew 10K out of that amount. And then when you got to Lagos, you check your balance, right? So you did a withdrawal here, withdrawal of just hold on now. did a withdrawal of 10K when you were in Abuja. So if you get to Lagos branch of that bank and you check your balance is going to be showing 40K. So what really happens is that the bank has a data center that actually houses the information about this the user, right, or the customer, right, that updates the balance of this user. The money actually that you pay in is not sitting in Abuja, right? And when you go to, I mean, it's not sitting in Kano. And when you go to Abuja and you made a withdrawal of 10K from your account, that withdrawal balance is not also being housed in Abuja. Neither is it being housed in Lagos where you are checking your balance, right? So what happens is that there is a right back, I mean, there is a communication between the branches and the data center over the network, right? So this time, when this person requests for withdrawal, when they wanted to, I mean, when the person wanted to deposit in Kano, when the cashier received this money from him, the money went through the internet and goes to the data center. Okay, so when the person traveled down to Abuja and requests for a withdrawal of 10,000, the cashier will contact the data center to verify how much of balance this guy has in his account, and it then gives him 10,000, right? And then when this user or when this customer flew from Abuja down to Lagos, right, and want to check his balance and comes into the bank to ask the cashier, so what happens is that the cashier also contacts the data center, right, to ask how much balance this guy has in the account and then reports back to him that it is 40,000. This is because there's a central place or what is called the data center where the data itself is saved, right? Just for the user to contact the data center for balance, right? So now this is a cloud environment, right? But this is private, right? Because it is only those that are inside of this organization that can really have access to the that information. So if there's another bank outside of bank A, then definitely they will not be able to access their data center for anything, right? Because all the security are in place to make sure that this is secure from outside of anyone within this environment, right? So this is called a private cloud, right? So now for the case of a public cloud is being provisioned by cloud service provider where numerous organizations can decide to subscribe to them to use their services that they made available. So let's now say that they are making available the cloud service provider as an office where they have different people coming to subscribe to their services like maybe Microsoft Azure, right? So what happens is that this data of various organizations are going to be saved inside here, right? Are going to be saved inside of here, and then everybody has its own and have access to only what's belongs to the organization. So they are just sitting inside of here, right? So this is publicly available and various organizations pay for subscription to use it, accessible to multiple organizations, right? So bank A, bank B, company C, company D can be here accessing this public cloud solution, right? Public cloud. So we'll just use the word public quickly, public cloud. So they have access to it, but based on what is called service level agreement, SLA. So since this is public, everybody has access to it, unlike what happened in this case, right? So that when organization A wants to access what data belong to them, they'll access it. Organization B can as well do, organization C can also do, right? So this is what's called public cloud. And really the differences which we are still going to be looking at is that this is being maintained by the cloud service provider, right? So the organization providing this service is called the cloud service provider, right? So it's called the cloud service provider, and they are really available to respond to requests, right, coming from the customers. While there is another one called the hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud is a combination of public cloud and private cloud utilization. So if an organization is making use of both the public and the private cloud together, right, it is referred to as hybrid cloud. So let's say, for example, due to compliance requirements, you feel that as a bank, for example, customer data regarding their account balances should remain in the on-premises environment. You could actually have your on-premises like this, gathering the data regarding your users that do not have to go out. But let's say they also need to use services like Microsoft Teams, emails, and all of that. So you can decide to now say, okay, contact Microsoft to go for Microsoft 365 solution, just so that your users can have access to Teams for meetings and all of that. But now you are drawing a boundary between what should be available on premises and what should be available in the cloud, right? So you are an organization, but you are managing two different environments, the on premises and then the cloud. The combination of these two is actually what gives you what is called hybrid cloud infrastructure, right? So you need to just take note of these things that I've just said. So haven't gotten that fundamental understanding, let's go into the theory. I mean, to look at the slides now, right? So organizations create cloud environments in their own data center, right? So organizations are responsible for operating the services they provide. So if anything happens here, it is their responsibility to make sure that they clean it up, right? So it does not provide access to users outside of the organization. It is only limited to people within the organization. That is called private cloud. While the public cloud is owned by a cloud service or hosting provider, most times they call them cloud service provider. If you hear the word CSP, right, there are big names in the industries that are common to everyone. One of it is Microsoft, right, which is one of the most popular one, right? And then you also have AWS, which is Amazon Web Service, right? And then you have Google Cloud, right? Google Cloud Professional, GCP, right? So they provide resources, right, and services to multiple organizations. The world emphasis here is on multiple, right, to multiple organizations and users, right? So access via secure network connection, typically over the internet. So for you to be able to have access to what they provide for you, then you must have access to the internet to access your services. That is what is called public cloud. So it's actually an on-premises environment, but owned by another organization responsible for taking care of it and then delivering your services or you accessing your services once you have access to the internet. So that's public cloud. It can be likened to a public vehicle where you are not responsible for the maintenance, but you only pay for the service for the vehicle or the driver to drop you off at your destination. Excuse me. Why hybrid cloud is a combination of the public and the private cloud to allow application to run in the most appropriate location. So if you have the cloud and then you have your on-premises environment, right? So you build your own data center here, and then you are also accessing maybe Microsoft Azure over the internet, right? The combination of these two is actually what gives rise to hybrid cloud, like I mentioned before. So let's now talk about the cloud model comparison. You can hear the word cloud model, or you can hear the word cloud deployment model. So if you hear the word cloud deployment model already, you have the public, you have the private, and then you have the hybrid. I'm sure that you understand what all those means now, but one thing that stands out is these differences that you need to know, or perhaps the comparison, right? So for public cloud, there's no capital expenditure to scale up, right? So if you, for example, you were getting 50 gigabytes, right? And then there is need for you to increase your storage to maybe 1 terabytes, right? Because your business has increased, you don't need to carry out any capital expenditure. What it means is that you don't need money to buy any physical gadgets. You just scale up, right? You just increase your usage, and then you'll be billed based on the current size you have, and nothing actually going to waste. So applications can be quickly provisioned and deprovisioned. For example, I can decide to build a VM now, use it for test, and then deprovision it immediately within an hour. So that's possible. But just imagine that you're buying a laptop for a test, and then if that laptop, if you are done using whatever you are doing, You can't just discard it. You may either look for somebody to buy it, or you just want to keep it for any future use. But for the public cloud, you just use, and then once you are done, you can deprovision because they are accessed over the internet. They are not physical gadgets within your environment. So organizations pay only for what they use. So this is what is called pay as you go. So you only pay for exactly what you use, right? You don't need to do any form of an upward or something payment, right? Or upfront rather. So private cloud hardware must be purchased for startup and maintenance. So because you are the one having the organization, I mean the everything that the organization needs. So you must buy their servers, then buy your routers, buy your switches, buy your cables to run your network, then buy your hard disks for your storage, buy your your what's it called, your computers or your servers that carries a processor and all of that for the compute services. You have to have them physically available. So organizations have a complete control because of course it's yours, right? You have a complete control over all the resources. But remember that you are responsible for the security, both the physical and the technical security of those gadgets, right? So organizations are responsible for hardware maintenance and updates. So if there is need for you to do maybe a maintenance, a repair, carry out a repair on those gadgets, then you have to do it, right? And then you're also responsible to make sure that the patches and the updates that you are taking care of them. So the hybrid cloud actually it provides the most flexibility that you can think of because first of all you decide what to put in the cloud, which is the public cloud, and you determine what is going to put on premise or on your own data center, and then you know exactly how to manipulate those things. So it is the most flexible part of those. Then organizations determine where to run their application. This was I just mentioned, right? So organization control security, compliance, or legal requirement. So the reason why you would do hybrid could just be because, for example, you are running a hospital environment and the government requirement is that you should not save the patient data in a remote location, right? They must be sitting on premises, something related. You can decide to maybe make sure that the customer data is just, I mean, the patient data is remaining within your environment and stuff like that, while the other transactions can be kept in the cloud. These are just for regulatory requirements. So we just need to compare capital expenditure and operational expenditure. So if you are running the on-premises or the private cloud environment, you will be making what is called capital expenses. And then if you are actually seeking the public cloud infrastructure setup, we'll be talking about the operational expenditure. So capital expenditure or CapEx, right? The upfront payment spending of money on physical infrastructure. Of course, if you want to set up your own data center, you must go buy those stuffs and then have them physically available to set up, right? So the cost for capital expenditure have a value that reduce over time. Yes, of course, depreciation is one of those things that is constant. So if you are having those things physically on ground, then you have what is called physical depreciation, right? And I think there is something around depletion and then operational depreciation or something related. So, but depreciation is always there. The value for your money keep dropping by the year based on useful life of whatever gadget you are buying. Why in the operational expenses that comes with a private cloud is that you spend on products and services as you will need them, right? So you don't just buy stuffs. Yes, here you could buy what you need, but if you need to now increase it, let's say for example you bought the 50 gigabytes um, space of storage. If you need to have 1 TB, like we mentioned in the previous, you need to find a way to buy the 1 TB, transfer the data here to this, maybe clean this up and sell it out or keep it for another use. It becomes like you are gathering maybe waste, right, within your environment, and maybe you are looking for those that we buy so that you can upgrade this, so you just have something physical that you cannot just easily. So you get billed immediately for the cloud. You can decide to say maybe a VM that is costing 0.77 per hour, right? So you just provision it, and after that 1 hour, it's less than $1, you have spent you have done what you want to do, and then you can deprovision it, just get billed immediately for it, and that's all right. But this is what you're spending upfront. Okay. So cloud services provide operations on consumption-based model, right? Which means that end users only pay for the resources that they use whenever they use it, and they pay for it. So you don't just consumption-based, you don't just get bills like you are using a prepaid meter, right? So it reads what you are using and then get you billed for that. So because of this, it has better option for you to be able to predict your cost. Let's say if that VM, for example, is running at 0.77, right, dollar per hour, so you can calculate the number of hours within a month. That means that if your machine is going to run all the way in the month, you know how much, so you can actually draft your budget, right, that you will spend within a month, and also know how to make sure that you can set auto shutdown for your system, just so within maybe you want to say the shutdown should happen at every 5:30 a.m., right? So that you know that once you close by 5, even if you forget to shut down your VM, then by 5:30 it will just automatically shut down, and then you don't get billed for the time that the machine is off. So with this, you can predict what you are going to spend for a month, right? So but you can't do that for on-premises because anything can happen. You can have mechanical failures and all of that that will require you to carry out maintenance that you did not plan, because there are planned and there are unplanned maintenance that can happen, right? So prices for individual resources and services are provided. You can see them. So billing is based on actual usage, not prediction. So that is what we have to cover there. So if we look at the module 2 quickly, we'll be introducing, after this, you should be able to describe the benefits of high availability and scalability in the cloud. In the cloud service, you should be able to describe the benefits of reliability and predictability in the cloud, and then describe the benefit of security and governance in the cloud, as well as describe the benefits of manageability in the cloud. So that's going to be the next topic of our conversation. And really, I want to leave it at this point, end this recording here now, and then we'll come back to treat this in the second episode of the MS-900 series exam series preparation. So if you have questions, you may want to drop that on the comment section, right? Because I'll be very happy to respond to you. And then if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, you may just want to subscribe, because the essence of this is just for us to learn and then see how we can apply what we are learning. So thank you very much, and I hope you're going to have a great day. So just stay tuned to watch the subsequent videos. So thank you. Peace.